to and learn from Asia's smartest business minds. Level up with unedited original content in just 60 minutes. Bringing actionable advice and real stories. Ask all your burning questions on a truly live talk show with guests who are at the top of their game. Are you prepared to be one of the most ambitious future leaders? Get inside Asia's smartest business minds. Tune in www.linkedbrother.com.
Hi everyone. So today I have an amazing female entrepreneur, inspiring person. I love her. She's based in Malaysia, so in the city I am in, and that's the reason I get to spend more time with her. But she's a phenomenal broadcaster, author. At the same time, she has her own podcast, lead producer and presenter at BFM 89.9, Malaysia's the business station. She's also a speaker, top 100 inspirational LinkedIn icons, and has been a sustainability advocate. So much to talk about, Freda Liu. Thank you so much, Freda, for being with us on Linkprana Stories today, right here to just share about your journey, your story, at the same time to tell us how do you even strike the balance between your personal and professional brand to say. Welcome to the stories.
Thanks, Kushbu. Thanks for the invitation.
It was pleasure having you, knowing you for such a long time already and seeing you in the media space where you've built such a beautiful recognition for yourself. Everybody knows you here in the country to say, and what you have done for yourself is phenomenal. Specifically, I always have believed that it's about the 3 T's of Freda Liu, which is tough, talented, and terrific. That's something I really associate you with always. So before I jump into further and welcoming the audiences, tell us about yourself to the audience who's tuning in from all across the world.
All right. How far back do you want to go? I'm just celebrating my birthday in the next 2 days, and I've been around for a while. Okay. In a nutshell, I grew up in Brunei. I was there. I was born there. I was there till I was 14. Father retired. I went back to Kuching, Sarawak, which is on the island of Borneo. It's part of Malaysia. Without Sarawak, there would be no Malaysia. And tomorrow will be Malaysia Day. And then I came out. I was there for about 4 or 5 years, and I came out to Kuala Lumpur to further my studies. Then I went to Australia for a while, and then I came back to KL to work. And so that's my growing up years. In the years that have happened, I have been in public relations, working in a consultancy. I've worked for IBM. I've done as a part-time TV newsreader. And of course, I've been doing radio as a newsreader now and as a presenter. As you mentioned, a couple of things, written books as well. So been around the block for a while now.
Absolutely. In Your Skin is one of the books that you've written, right?
Yes.
And it's phenomenal. I love that one. And you're writing. Oh, that's so nice. Yes, guys. So if you want to read her book, and this is an empowering one to say, Freda, tell us where can they get it?
Okay, you can go to, if you're in Malaysia, you can go to MPH Bookstore. You can also go online. If you go online, just go to my website, which is fredaliu.com, and under books, you can order it. So yeah, a couple of my books are there as well.
Awesome, Freda. Thank you so much for sharing. So let's give it a quick hi to the audiences who have tuned in also. Guys, thank you so much for joining in. Tell us from which part of the city, country are you watching us, because we would love to hear that. And at the same time, tell us what you want to ask from Freda. She comes from a multifaceted background, not only as a female entrepreneur, but a female leader. She's a sustainability coach as well at the same time. She's in the space where media has been very close to her. It's so amazing to see people already joining us. Hi, Srinivas, Ajay, hi, Rakesh, hi, Anis, hi, TK Bharat. It's so nice to see you guys already here. Hi, Nupur. Some amazing people are already there with us. So let's get started, Freda. To one of the amazing things that I've got to know just a while back, you have done more than 5,000 interviews. I mean, okay, we are on our 36th with Linkprana Stories. So that 5,000 interviews, you had guests like Stephen Covey, Jack Welch, Robert Kiyosaki, Prince Andrew, and so many renowned people to say. What has been your experience? I mean, what were your takeaways or the most memorable moments from these amazing 5,000 interviews to say?
Okay, so it's like asking me to name who's my favorite child, right? Um, um, and okay, so my attitude towards interviews is that I learn from everybody I meet, right? I learn from every conversation that I have. But what would be unique was me interviewing Nick Vujicic. He's the guy with no arms and no legs, and it wasn't so much the interview per se, but it was after the interview where we had a conversation, and he's just a very you could feel the vibes, you could feel he's very genuine. And after the interview, we had that conversation where he prayed for me, right? And I think that was most memorable in that sense. But it was more after the interview than during the interview itself. But having met and interviewed to a lot of different people, you learn from everyone you meet, right? The most not so recent, the last couple of years, had a conversation with Simon Sinek that was also very eye-opening. So everybody has been unique. Everybody has been able to impart something to me, right? So yeah, these are just some of the names.
Absolutely. These are names who have been inspiring us. I think I love Nick's and some of his amazing videos I've watched out on YouTube. And Simon Sinek, of course, there's no word to the guy. He has taught us so many things. The Golden Circle, to say just one of them. I would say, Freda, of course, these interviews have changed the way maybe you look at life today, right? Because every person that joins on the show gives a huge value to say. But what inspired you to get into the space of interview? Like, how exactly did you get started on this journey?
Oh, okay. So it was getting into radio, getting into broadcast was never intentional. It was never a part of a life plan. It's a series of fortunate events. Do you really want to hear the story? We could go on.
Yes.
So, okay. So this was about, I just came back from Australia. I had to come back. I finished my studies, but I wanted to stay longer in Australia. And then my father was very ill, and I had to come back to Kuching to help take care of my dad. During that
Okay.
period, a friend of mine, so this is in Sarawak, right? A really small town. And a friend of mine said, there's an audition for something on TV. And I'm like, I'm taking care of my dad. I can't do this. My dad passed on a couple of months later. My friend said, hey, this thing is still happening. And I'm like, how long is this? You've been talking to me about this for months. Anyway, I met up with the producer of RTM, which is our national TV, right? I met with the producer. We just had a conversation. It wasn't even a audition or anything of that sort. And then he said, "You got the part." I'm like, oh, "Okay, I got the part, right?" And I didn't think much about it because what could be so big coming from this really small town, right? Because it's not even in Kuala Lumpur. And I realized that many years ago, what is now the Singapore, it was known as the Singapore Broadcasting Corporation. It's now known as Media Corp. So they used to get together with RTM and do a variety show every 2 years. So it'd be in Singapore, and then after that, where an RTM happened to be present, and it happened to be in my hometown. And the producer of the show insisted there was the male host and the female host, and the male host was a gentleman speaking in Malay, and they wanted a female host to speak in English, and they
Okay.
wanted the right and the they insisted the female host to be a Sarawakian, which is what I am. And
Yeah.
so, and I still didn't know what it was until I realized that it was a live show that was aired in Singapore and Malaysia. This is all 22 years old. And from that little incident, the heads of both these stations saw me, and that was how I got into TV, right? So that's a very long story of how I got into it. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't a childhood dream. It wasn't anything that I wanted to do. And you talk, so I was always a part-time radio and TV news reader while holding a full-time job in Edelman and IBM. When BFM came about 12 years ago, I got this call, and I was like, it was just very intriguing, right? Because most of the stations here still are very much music stations, and I wasn't interested in just joining a music station. I like the fact that it was business, and I get to learn something new, get a chance in creating something, and hence I decided to join. It was a big decision because it was a 30% pay cut, from the comforts of IBM to do this. And I decided to take that leap anyway. And I'm glad I did, right? And that was when I started doing more. It was a skill I wanted to learn. It was a skill that I wanted to learn to be impromptu and to think up my feet, because when you're reading the news, you're always scripted, right? So to be able to do that was a skill I wanted to learn as well. And so, and then so 12 years on, I'm still there doing that and enjoying myself.
Absolutely. I think, Frida, just to what I picked from your story, and I can really say that is the fact is that life happened and you let it happen to you and explore and not be very rigid on what's coming your way and deciding earlier, but it's experimentations and a little bit of course, passion and love to what you're enjoying, definitely. And eventually making sure that you can rock the journey, definitely. We all know that you're doing so well with the BFM podcast or the radio, to say at this point of time. The takeaway which I would like the audiences to really notice here is to not be very rigid and to be making sure that you allow yourself to try, experiment, and learn in that process what will you fall in love with. Because personally for myself, I never knew I will do marketing. At some point of time, I still remember about 8-9 years ago, I used to say, what's marketing, man? I'm not into this. I'm more of the tech girl, because I was into tech at that point of time more than marketing. But look at me today.
I remember those days.
Yeah. This is how it happens, We really don't know where we end up at present. And I don't know where will you be 5 years, 10 years down the line. I don't know for myself. But to be able to be that water in quality, I think the water quality of being adaptable to the situations and the scenarios, that helps a lot. So I hope audiences, you can take that from Freda Liu's journey. She's doing phenomenally well. For ones who are tuning in from other parts of the world, please go check out her website, fredaliu.com, and you would know her journey from scratch there. With this, let's quickly jump to the next thing which I have up my mind. So Freda, you are one of the personalities, I would say, which has been very active on social media. And I really appreciate that. I love that about you. You have adapted the millennial mindset. You have adapted the change that the country, world is going through. We see you on Instagram. We see you on Facebook. We see you on LinkedIn and everywhere possible. And you're very open about who you are. How do you get that courage, that boldness to say as a woman, to come forward and be so expressive on each one of the platforms and being at the same time able to manage your position as a lead producer at BFM? It's kind of a wonderful mix that you have here.
Okay, so is it by design or by default, right? Okay, so I want to talk about that there are different platforms, right? And I find that at the end of the day, I just to an earlier point you said about trying out new things, right? You just need, which is a chapter in my next book, a spoonful of courage and bucket loads of hard work. Okay, there is work involved. I also understand that there are different platforms, right? So when you understand like what the Facebook platform is like, I'm on TikTok, but I haven't done anything on TikTok, right? But that's what the new generation is going to be like, right? But I just haven't gotten around to doing a dance. So then, of course, there is Instagram, then there's LinkedIn and all that. So understand just like roughly what these platforms are. So for LinkedIn, it is professional, right? People do want to see a personal side right? But they don't really want to see my holiday pictures, right? You can see that on Instagram. Unless I can link it to a business story, right? I can link it to the business community and make it. But if not, then that's fine, right? So understand that there are different platforms, and just like humans, right? There are different aspects of our life. I'm a mother, right? And so, I don't, unless again I can combine the mother story to the biz community, then I would do that on LinkedIn. But otherwise, right, you'll see pictures of me and my son on Facebook and on Instagram, but not so much on LinkedIn, right? Unless there is a connection there. So you have to know what your target audience is like. So that's a very professional the view of things, right? And by the same time, I don't want to second guess myself. I want to be authentic. I want to be just who I am, and know that that's who it is, right? Why do we have to pretend to be anybody else, right? That's it's a very difficult life to live if you have to
Correct.
pretend to be someone else, right? So that's step number one, right? Be authentic, right? I mean, there are things that I say on Facebook which I won't say on LinkedIn. Things I say on Facebook about the political situation, and things like that, which is fine because they're among my friends, right? There's also Facebook, the page, Freda Liu, which I would not do that. But on Facebook, if there are certain things that irks me or whatever, I just want to feel free to express myself, because people don't like one-dimensional. People don't relate to one-dimensional people. People know that you've got to have a personality, right? Like it or not, it's okay. Your vibe will attract your tribe, right? You don't have to be everything to everybody, and that's fine, right? Be people want realness. People want that now, right? And it's not about what people want. It's just easier for me to live this way, right? Just to be myself.
I think
Yeah.
I can relate to so many things that you just mentioned. First of all, to highlight on the fact that multiple social media platform presence doesn't mean copy pasting. And that's the most important rule that you must follow. Having your cat videos on LinkedIn is not what you want to do at all, guys. You don't want to do that at all. Unless you are selling something that has to do with pet, or that has to do with pet health, or in the space where it's about the pet, then it's a different story altogether. And
Yeah.
I love, Frida, that you mentioned that bringing a mother-son story to LinkedIn is also possible, but it has to give a approach towards something people can take away from, and not posting a dinner picture with your son out there. I mean, there's a difference, and that's the difference I would love the audiences here to take away from this conversation as we are talking. And Instagram altogether is a platform where you are rocking the space as well. Alongside, of course, Vida, you have projected one more side, which is one dimensional, is not what people connect with. So there is a choice. Have you ever been in the position where people tell you, Frida, this is not the right thing to do, and this is not what something you should have posted about? Because when you're opinionated, you actually get mixed feedback. You get people to love you and bash you. It happens both. So how do you actually manage that situation when people are trying to tell you what to do rather than you deciding for yourself what you're doing, and or try to bash it in some manner?
So far, I'm very fortunate. No one has said anything, or maybe they're too afraid. I don't know. So I haven't had that, unless like I do ask a friend or something for an opinion. But so far, I haven't had that experience. So I'm maybe
Wow.
I'm yeah. So I haven't had that. So
So this brings me to another side, because every time when someone is strong, opinionated, and might even end up to have a political opinion, there is a mindset which people have it. Oh, if I see something like that, people might come back and oppose me or bash me. So guys, look at this. There is a possibility where the world is a nicer place and a kinder place than you imagine it to be. For Frida, if this has not been the case, she is connected with thousands or even more, to say, people in the industry, and if they haven't made her feel any bad about it, it's all about trying and being authentic, and as she said, not being one dimensional. I think that was so true, Frida, because if we try to portray ourselves, even the longevity of that reduces. How long can you even go ahead and be someone else and not yourself? Somewhere or the other, people are going to catch you and get hold of that. With this,
I
Frida,
just want to,
yeah,
yeah,
sure.
I just want to say one thing as well. Even when you want to talk about something that's political, right? I mean, I don't share political stuff, but sometimes it's something that's current right now, and I was like, address what is the underlying thing. Is it an issue of integrity? Is it no? And there's a way of couching it in such a way that you're trying to get your point across without being, you can still be direct about it, but not go on a negative, it's you want, for me anyway, I want my conversations to be uplifting, uh, in a very negative situation, right? To get people to think about what has happened, right? In that sense, and still be bold enough without sometimes having to be direct about it. You get
Correct.
it. You get what
Correct.
I'm trying to
It's
say,
about
So,
it's about saying the right thing in the right manner, because sometimes when you even say the right thing but in the wrong manner, it can go haywire. You might want to add value, but it doesn't happen at the end of the day. Very well brought in, Frida. Very well. I think probably that's one more reason why you have not experienced that side, is because you are very well, you know how to articulate your thoughts in a positive manner and not wrapping it with negative words or mindset at all. Kudos on that. Definitely kudos on that. With this, giving a quick shout out to the people who have joined us. Like, hi, Mickey. It's nice to see you on the live. Hi, Cindy, Ajay, Sahib. It's so glad. Yes, get in touch with Fida. She's an amazing lady, Sahib. And so many amazing people. I see Radha. I see Aaron. Hi, Aaron. Nice to see you. Aaron has actually got a question as well. Do you want to answer that now?
okay, can you pose it to me? Because, okay, guys,
I'm going to tell you the question. Don't worry.
okay.
So he says, don't worry, don't read it. I'll read it for you. It's okay, cool. So he says that a curious question, as getting onto radio was not the North Star. What do you think would be different? Some different or same about FIDA if you did not take the dive into radio? So what else would you be doing, FIDA, if not radio, if that didn't happen?
Okay. Oh, Aaron. Hi, Aaron. Um, okay. So, I mean, so the radio thing was a decision that I made so much later in life as a full-time thing, right? So it was already an experiment of 20 years when I was doing radio and TV on a part-time basis
20
while I
years.
was holding, yeah, it was before I
Wow.
decided to do it full time. So and then so I was doing my job in the corporate life lah. I was in IBM, I was in Edelman. It was the corporate, the true and tried way, the tested way, the safe, secure way. So then the decision to do it full time came about later, after I have tried everything and I was looking for a new direction, right? But it wasn't immediate, right? But I think I did set the path and the stage for myself in such a way that I have been ready. Okay, so when I talk about joining the think about this, right? When I joined BFM, it was a combination of the fact that I've had corporate experience and broadcasting experience, and marrying that working in a business station. So it was a couple of things that came together. So, and when the opportunity was there, it was right. I mean, when I did all these things, there wasn't a station called BFM, right? When I was
Yeah.
doing a full-time job. So there wasn't anything of that sort. So you sometimes say you just try new things and you never know, an opportunity might come up that's not a job that's not in ready yet, that because you have done other things, you are ready when the opportunity comes up.
Absolutely. And I think you also evolve, right, Fida, when you pick up. I still remember when I did my first interview of Link Runner Stories, and I'm doing today. I knew the butterflies I had at the first time, and now I have it. It's absolutely different. It's because you learn in the progress and you get better every single time. So I phenomenally brought in with where, Aaron, I hope you got your answer. But at the same time, Fida, if I have to say, let's say if it was nothing about radios and all, would you have been still with IBM and the corporate life? Would that be how we would have seen Fida Liu?
Probably. I knew that I was looking for something. Okay, so even when I was at IBM, right, I actually took up coaching, a certification, as a coaching certification. So maybe I would have moved in that direction, and I do a little bit of that now as well, right? So I might have moved in that direction. I don't know. So I was already looking at other things as well. Even right now, I've just finished my postgrad diploma in design thinking. It was just nothing to do with radio, right? But I'm just intrigued. I'm thinking of Industry 4.0. What was the future? Are people going to continue listening to radio in its conventional sense. But technology has such a way right now, right? Who would have thought 5 years ago that we'll be doing something like this over LinkedIn, right? StreamYard.
Correct.
So who knew, right? So, but I think I would have evolved into something else. I don't know. But being prepared, I guess.
I guess so too, of course. I think you really let yourself open and flexible to be trying those stuff. And probably that's the reason why BFM 12 years, oh my God. And before that, 20 years, I can't imagine. That's a long time. I wonder what's your age now. You definitely not look.
I'll be 50 on Thursday.
Oh, really? Okay. From everybody at Link Runner Stories, guys, advance happy birthday to Freda Liu. Yes, this Thursday she's done. So 17th is your birthday. Wow, that's
Yes.
so amazing. Advance happy birthday. Of course, my greetings are going to come that very day as well, Rita, but it's nice to hear it. It's so amazing to see some fabulous guys. Aaron has actually given you a heart for the answer. And we have Mala Doraswamy as well on the show. Hi, Mala. Hi, Geeta. To see you. It's so lovely. Hi, Sharad. Yeah, indeed. So, Freda, let's as we are uncovering more sides of you, where it was about radio, IBM, or even to say more, I would love if we could jump into the rapid fire, and rapid fire can uncover a lot more about you. Are you excited about that?
I was very, it cannot. Okay, anyway, I was looking at it and said, but it can't. It all connects. But anyway, let's just do this.
Okay, God. Okay, let's do it. I wonder what you were about to say. Actually, go ahead. No worries. What?
Because like sometimes like I can't say one is better than the other because one would have led me to the other. So every step I've taken has been a stone, right? What's that word?
No doubt.
A stepping stone. A stepping
Correct.
stone, right?
No doubt.
Yeah. So that's what I was trying to say.
Oh, I think, Freda, because of the IBM experience and the earlier years experience, you have that entrepreneurial or the corporate side in you, apart from, of course, the media and the broadcaster or as a moderator or speaker side, which maybe was somehow inherited, which was discovered as the time went. But that experience brought in the entrepreneurial angle, probably to say, because that brought you very close to the corporate environment, to say. Would that be the case?
Okay, I would say more than that. Okay, so I attend a lot of seminars. I read a lot of books, right? So one of the things that we talk about, I'm sure you all know Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant, right? And if you don't think like an entrepreneur, you don't think like an intrapreneur, that is not, you're not looking out for yourself, right? So when I do these things and I understand the corporate world, I also understand how the entrepreneur think from talking to people. But I also think of myself as an entrepreneur in the sense that, yes, it's great that I'm a BFM, but I also have other things going for me because it's about just being as versatile as possible. We talk about it's not the survival of the fittest, it's the survival of the most adaptable, right? So that's why I build all these things, because it's also building up on my skills, building on my portfolio, that sort of thing. So I'm very mindful of that. As much as I love what I do, it's given me a lot of leverage, but I don't want to be even like, so everywhere, like Edelman and IBM, I was working part-time as TV newsreader. I was also a lecturer at one time, part-time lecturer. When the early days where I was working as a receptionist, this is before I furthered my studies, I was a receptionist in Kuching. And my part-time job was a choral singer, singing for the state choir. So, when I look back at that, right, even being a choral singer, although I didn't end up as a singer, that experience taught me what it was like to get on stage, not alone with a crowd of people, but everything has been a stepping stone, right? A journey where you get a bit braver, a bit bolder. So everything adds up. Yeah.
I think beautifully placed. Yes, everything adds up, even of the smallest bit of lesson that you have learned in the earlier life of the career. That was a great one, Freda. With this, are you ready to jump into the rapid fire? I'm excited.
Okay.
Okay, let's do it. So we get started with our first rapid fire. And how about we actually do the head and the tail one? So I'm going to share two words and you're going to tell me which one you connect with the most. Okay. Let's do it.
Okay.
This videos are by Aaron Fu, guys. I want to give a quick shout out to him. He has come up with this amazing idea. You know, these rapid fire videos, he is the guy behind it. So if you're looking for someone to guide you on the videos, get in touch with Aaron Fu. I love him. He's amazing. So
You're terrible, Aaron.
I love you, Freda. You're awesome. Let's go with the first question. So let's, in the head and tail round, you love radio or TV?
Radio.
Fame or fortune?
Fortune.
Speaker or moderator?
Speaker.
MC or radio host?
Radio host.
Beaches or mountains?
Ooh, beaches. Huh?
Yes, I have seen the maximum pictures on the beaches from your side. Mindset or skill set?
Mindset.
Okay, this one is a little bit of background, so that's coming from there. You love red lipsticks or amazing shoes?
Ah, amazing shoes.
Okay, that's nice. So, guys, that was her books. Just for a heads up, it's literally not leading to there, but it's her books, and she has written some amazing books. Check her website. Coming back, black or white?
White.
Personal or professional?
Personal.
Daughter or mother?
Mother.
Party or work?
Work.
Success or failure?
Success.
Entrepreneur or intrapreneur?
Entrepreneur.
And purpose or passion?
Purpose.
That was a nice rap. You did so well and quite fast too, and that too in one word. That's amazing, Freda. Love you for that. Rapid fire actually turned out to be rapid, guys, this time. Yes, we did it. No, it's amazing, Freda. Just coming back to some of our questions, a quick shout out to the audiences, guys. Whoever is watching, it's your opportunity. If you have any questions in respect to everything that Freda does and she's shared so far, push it in the comment section and we're going to bring it to her, all these amazing questions from you. Till then, I have something amazing to ask. Since you have been interviewing so many people and BFM has been a space, how has it been during the COVID times? Because it was, radios is something that people enjoy while driving. I mean, that's a mindset. And, you know, BFM has been a radio channel. How was the COVID times for BFM, and how did you guys manage that pandemic?
Okay, it was tough initially because a lot of people. So in its conventional radio, a lot of people were not on the road, right? So
Right.
obviously listenership was affected. However, from the beginning, we already had our podcasts, right? So that was fortunate. We could still lead people to listen to our podcast. It wasn't something new. It wasn't something unusual that was coming up from us. We did more things digitally so that people will still continue to engage with us. Then, of course, we went back to normal. But I think also the work situation was that we had to work with two teams, and that was very difficult. We're still doing that at the moment, actually. So we take turns going to the office and not. So if you're not equipped, and these are things you find out, right? And you learn about yourself as well. You need to be blended, right? You need to have online, offline. And it was difficult to do interviews when we're offline. So there are things that you discover, tools that you discover that you can use that are free. But it is, of course, it affects the quality. There's nothing like studio quality. But I think we have learned to prepare ourselves to have a spare studio and that sort of thing. So it's been trying, but it's a great learning experience. Yeah, I think it was tough personally. Sorry.
Tough personally for? Please go ahead, Freda.
Oh, it was tough personally for a lot of people. I mean, of course, it affects your mental health. It affects your it affects people, right? And so you have to be sure that it can't be work as usual, right? You have to take care. It has to be empathy. It was a struggle for some people. If you've got young children, I mean, I'm so glad that I don't have a young child. And then he just finished his O level, so there was something I didn't have to worry about, right? So, and I can imagine how challenging it was for a lot of people. Of course, will I get to keep my job? These are things that were concerning a lot of people. So we're fortunate that none of that happened with us.
I think I'm glad to know that, because, of course, you had adapted the digital growth era before even the pandemic shooted in. So managing the setbacks were easy because there was nothing new internally for the company. Because I think the biggest problem happens internally more than externally, because the management style of working from home suddenly gets into the space, and that takes in a lot of things, because you're in the radio journey. At the end of the day, the gadgets and the tech plays a very important role. With this, Freda, I would, since you are in podcasts, and podcast is something people have been very much interested in, and they're thinking about getting in, but they don't know. Do you have some tips for our audiences who are watching, since you've done so many episodes already, for someone who's just starting with a podcast?
Okay. Again, I think do what you're interested in, right? Do what you're interested in, what you're naturally good in, right? And of course, yeah, the side of things is like, was it marketable and all that? That's part two, right? That's part two. And we there's this guy called Daniel Priestley, right? He wrote this book called Finding Out What Your Micro Niche Is. So you may be good at something, but even go deeper into that so that you are known for a particular thing, right? So don't try to do what's popular just because it's popular, right? Do something that really resonates with you. And it comes back to Simon Sinek. Everything starts with why. When I do my work, I always ask myself, does it impact lives? That's my why, right? When I do an interview and I'm able to get that conversation out of someone and someone will learn from it, I know did that interview impact one person's life, right? And if you operate from what and how, you won't last long. You won't be in the game for long because you're operating from what and how. You're operating from, oh, do I get, how many clicks do I get? How many likes do I get? It's, I'm happy when I do speaking. I don't care if it's a person. I don't care if it's 10,000 person. I feel that I'm talking to one person, right? And I need to know that if I made a difference to one person's life, right? So find out what your micro niche is. Don't be, like if you wanted to cover something, are you still doing this 20, 30 years down the road? Right? You evolve, okay? Like back in the day, we didn't have LinkedIn, we didn't have all these tools. You evolve or using the latest technology. But are you still known for something 20, 30 years down the road? Are you still consistent in who you are 20, 30 years down the road? Because that doesn't change. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think because, Freda, over here, the concept is that how exactly do we nurture ourselves? How do we prepare ourselves for all of these situations? I think I'm glad that you're sharing these amazing insights and nuggets for people to pick from and then implement in their own life. With this, of course, I have to ask you something where of course, there is so much talk about podcast has been also related to personal branding, and there has been so much VUCA around the space where all this pandemic is happening. Do you think for corporates specifically, would humanizing their brands with personal branding coming in, would that amplify the branding of the corporate company, or that's not the way to go?
You definitely, okay. One of the companies, I'll give you an example of one of the companies that have evolved and resonated very closely with me, right? Which is Microsoft with Satya
Yes,
Nadella. And
correct.
he talks about his children, right? And he talks about humanizing the company. And I have dealt with Microsoft from my previous days in IBM and now that I work with, this is not a promotion to Microsoft, and I've dealt with them now. And you can see that culture has come through, right? They're very different from the culture I knew from years ago. Nothing wrong with, Bill Gates, but what I'm saying is that,
Of course, it's adaptable.
the whole, and it comes through, right? You know what Satya is about. It's about his children. It's about making it easy in terms of educating people. And so you see that coming through, right? How do you connect with someone better? Um, if you know more about a person, you like the person better, right? And if you've got two people, just very simple, two people who have the same offerings to do it, you will work with the person that you like more. And the more I know about
Exactly.
you, right? It's simple. It's not rocket science. I would just want to work if there are two people offering the same thing at the same price, and maybe even the one is a little bit more pricier, right? But I like you more, I would choose to work with you, right?
Hang on, 100% with you. You know, it's about, as much as we talk about talking about data points and rationals, which I love it, but at the end of the day, you will notice when you take the final call of signing that paper and the signature, or taking that decision of yes or no, it comes from an emotional point of view,
Yeah.
whether it's about the trust, or whether it's about the belief, or even to say the likability factor of that particular person. Because I think
Mm.
that's where the six rules of influence also comes in, right? I mean, if you've read about it, you know,
No, I
that's
haven't.
okay. I was reading that book. I forgot the author name. Come on, I would have mentioned it if I would have been able to recall, but I would do. Let me just take a look at that. But with this, I'm glad, Freda, you mentioned about the fact, because today it's so important for the brands to go on humanizing factors, specifically because people have started connecting with people now any day more than brands. To be honest,
Mm,
I connect with you more than BFM. That's my personal take. I mean, I might be wrong or
mm,
right, but I somehow really connect with the way you work and stuff. And automatically, I have a strong branding for BFM from there. And that's what
mm.
I want to really share with you. Glad you
Right.
mentioned. With this, let's get into the audience question. We have some amazing ones here with us. Okay, so one by one, we actually have from Bharat, who is joining us live, and he's asking how to handle tough situations on social media and how to make the content or video more engaging for the audience. These are two questions that he has it
Okay.
for you.
Okay. So how to handle the first one? How to handle tough
Situations on social media. I think with tough, he might mean situations which are not favorable, maybe some kind of negative commenting, troll, or
situations?
unfavorable response to your content. I hope, TK, I'm actually having a correct understanding of your question.
Okay, and if I were wrong, then correct us. But
Mhm.
tough
Yeah.
situations, I think I was talking about that. I haven't had that experience, but I think if someone would, I really like it if someone actually brings up something, right, and then I can actually address it, right, and I think that's great when you can have intelligent discourse, right, and you can agree to disagree, and that's fine as well, right. I've had these conversations with people where you agree to disagree, but it's respectful. And you want to hear other people's opinion, right? So that's why it's when they get rude and they get personal and everything, then I have to block you. You know, I mean, if it's just rude and you're just being a nasty person, I have no qualms about blocking you because it's not constructive, right? I would like to have and then I don't mind having my opinions change if you can explain things such a way as like, wow, I never saw it that way, right? That's how we learn, right? To have different perspectives, to learn new things. So that's my take on it, right? I mean,
That's a
um,
nice
I, yeah,
being
so
flexible, but at the same time making sure if it's getting too much, just block it.
yeah, no, it's getting too much when it gets personal, right? You go down the levels of argument. There's also a book there about the different levels of argument. The lowest level of argument is where they start personal and they start calling you names, right? Then I'm not going to entertain that, right? Or you come from a point of view, and I will just still stand firm, and I'll just say thanks, but I love to hear where that person comes from. I still respect you if we have a discourse about it, right? And I my opinion may remain the same or it might be dissuaded. That's fine, right? I want to be able to have different opinions. And the second
The
question
second
was,
question is how to make your content more engaging on social media platforms.
okay, so again, how people's attention span is different, right? So like videos, nothing more than 3 minutes. Usually that's the case, right? I mean, you can use that to entice them. Like for example, you can use something to entice them to link them to the podcast, and the podcast may be long, right? So you can use little teasers with videos to get people, and they're intrigued by the 2-3 minute video to then want to go to listen to the podcast. Let's say, for example, but your topic obviously has to be interesting as well. I mean, like one of the things with something that I learned from Dale Carnegie, right? How to win friends and influence people. It's always about be interested, not be interesting, right? And that's a philosophy.
Wow.
You when you're interested in someone, it's not about how interesting and how wonderful I am. It's about how interested you are, right? So when you're interviewing people, it's about knowing that person, trying to bring out the best in person, trying to get the knowledge out that person. And really, that's a philosophy. Just be, and I enjoy sometimes. It's just second nature for me right now to just be interested, and it's not about me, right?
Being
Uh,
interesting.
yeah, there's a time and place. You have a website, you talk about how wonderful you are and all that sort of thing. That's fine. People read at their own leisure. But when you're trying to connect with someone, right? Be interested.
That's a nice one. That's a powerful one. I'm
Mm.
going to really remember that forever. This would be my one short takeaway from this episode. But Frida, just a quick add-on to what you mentioned. Having a call. What's your take on having a call to action? To what I personally, as creating content, I feel like if a person ends up, like you
Mm.
mentioned, having a call to action of a teaser video to a podcast. At the same time, if someone is just curating something which is thought provoking and maybe asking a question at the end, that what are
Mm.
your thoughts or what's your take on it, would you think that is another great method of bringing more engagement?
Yes, I don't do enough of that. Yes, I should. But yes, that's really good, right? Because you want to get people to think like, or just to get opinions, just to encourage conversation, right? And that is a great strategy, which I don't do enough. And there you go. I learned something new today. Yeah.
No, that's great. So Bharat, just go ahead, try this, and do let us know how did that work for you. So
I
we have,
will.
yeah, next question is coming from Geeta. She's joined us and she has to say, where do you get your ideas to create content? Is there a specific creative process you use? That's a great question, Geeta. It's
Ooh.
it's really something that that also I have a process to make sure I can come up with ideas. What do you do, Frida? I would love to know.
Oh. I would then later on, can you share your process? For me, uh, okay, let me just talk from a work scenario, right? A
That's
BFM
right.
scenario. So obviously, there's a whole team. I'm not the one thinking of all of it, right? So sometimes we have themes. Sometimes, like this whole week is a Malaysia Day, so we interview people from Borneo. So there's a team discussion that we go into the kind of content that we want to cover. We see what's trending. Right, we see what's trending, what's topical, and that's for radio, right? And so in terms of technology, so that's one way when it comes to radio. When it comes to other things that I do, like whether it's writing books and all that, yes, in a way, it's like what's topical, but at the same time, I find that radio, TV, like writing books for me is more a personal outlet. It could be conversation that I've had with people, like I know. So my next book is about understanding life stages, right? Because a lot of people come up to me and say, "Oh, I'm a mother, I know what my career, da, da, da," and I feel like, okay, that's what my next book is all about, right? And understanding life stages, what you do in each life stage, understanding that you do the best as you can at this life stage. So even doing what I'm doing right now, I thought about this 10 years ago in a way, understanding that my son will be 17, 18 years old, living his own life, an empty nest syndrome, and I will have to, what do I do then when he's gone, right? I've read and I enjoy that time with him, but I'm already thinking when he's gone, how am I keeping myself active? So that the mind was already turning, right? So that was the purpose of the book. And so coming up with, so that's the book. And then just be and and you also, okay, one of the things that I'm very passionate about is sustainability, right? I talk about sustainability, and I'm a World Vision ambassador for clean water and sanitary hygiene, right? And that's because I've been a sponsor of World Vision for the last 20 years. And so they know me, way before I was doing all this. I was already that. So they asked me to be an advocate, right? And I strongly believe in sustainability as well. So I'll give you an example in the case of clean water and sanitary. Do you know that in some countries, and I'm sure in India as well,
Yeah.
usually the girls are out collecting water because there's no clean water. And by
Right.
collecting water, because the villagers don't have clean water, they don't get to go to school, right?
Yeah.
So by just having an infrastructure in place, it affects so many other areas. It's something that I'm very passionate about. Now, that's also a conversation that companies are also talking about 2030 SDG 20, but I talk about it and I understand that corporates like it, but it's also something I believe in, right? So it's also important that I believe it. I know that it's something that could be marketable, that could, but I also, it has to come from here too, right?
Correct. Correct.
So you
Not
gotta
being
find what your
corporate
yeah,
only like corporate PR, but instead it comes authentically deep within.
right. So I leverage on it, and then as a World Vision advocate, but at the same time, it's something that I've been doing for the last 20 years, sponsoring kids, so it's very personal to me, right?
I know
So
that
you,
because being a mother yourself, I think you can connect with the stories of other kids, and that drives the passion of making sure how exactly you really can change life of other kids out there, apart from, of course, your own son. I think I can vouch for Frida on that, because every time I speak to her, the passion she has whenever she talks about this topic is something different. I can feel that from within, that she has a strong desire to make change and bring the sustainability angle to the country. So I hope Geeta got her answer. But for me, I would just say to Geeta that Frida meant by saying from daily incidences of life. And of course, the team helps a lot. But for
yeah,
myself, I would just add in. So this has been a challenge for me as well, because I curate content on LinkedIn and other platforms. And trust me, it is not easy. When I started, every time I wanted to do something and it just was a struggle. What exactly should I write about? But the fact is that I landed on creating some frameworks which helped us definitely. But apart from the framework, a quick thing that worked quite well is my mobile phone. I used to just go and write one line of the incident that happened, like as interesting as possible. Just now Freda Liu mentioned something which I loved a lot. It's about being interested and not being interesting. Now that triggers a thought within me, and I can just write that one line and keep that. Whenever I have time in the week, I will elaborate that feeling because I have the initiator written with me. And that's where the content journey gets started, from the personal side. And on the professional side, of course, you have teams to take care, but I think that also happens through research.
yeah. Mm.
So documenting has helped me a lot, I would say, Geeta. With this, going to the next question, Frida. Srinivas Shri, he's saying, how do you overcome your biggest challenge? In a very
Oh,
short form, I mean, because he knows that it's the show running time, he says very quickly he wanted to know how exactly do you overcome some of the biggest challenges of your life?
oh, okay. There've been okay. So I'll tell you this: when you go through a challenge, right? The process the feelings, right? Process the feelings, whether it's anger, whether it's sadness, whether it's that, right? And this comes from maturity. This comes from being nearly 50, right? And understand, and don't suppress anything, right? And if you're feeling angry, go to a pillow, shout into it, scream to the mountain, whatever. Don't let it out on people. And so, and then when sometimes it takes me some time to cool down. Let's say I'm angry, right? And then after that, I'll wait to the point where I'm calm, then I can start thinking, right? Then I can start thinking clearly. So that is the thought process for me, all right? And then like it could be the 5 stages of grief, understanding that, right? And then understanding there is a process that if you want to get angry, if you want to get sad, go through that. A lot of people don't go through that part, right? Where they don't sit and express or go through the emotions of what they're feeling. I think that's the first thing. Whatever, when it's not well in your soul, it's very difficult. So you've got to get to a point, and it not be completely well in your soul yet, but like you want to get to that point where how am I thinking logically and not doing anything irrationally? So sometimes it takes a long time, like the for me it was a very difficult period when my marriage ended. It took me a long time to get over it. And then now I'm able to think logically about it, learn from the experience, where did I go wrong, and not repeat that mistake again, right? So it's process the emotions. You got to
I
stop
think I
and think.
agree. It's about letting that out. I mean, sometimes people suppress it, and that kind of lead to mental illness as well, guys, which you don't want to
Yeah,
touch. It's better to just go out and vent out. I think one of the great ways that you mentioned, don't vent out on the people, go and vent out on the beaches and the mountains and try that for yourself. I think that's a good one. But yes, not keeping that feeling within is the first thing you want to do. Even if it involves speaking to someone, I think that could also add value. So I hope, Srinivas, you got your answer. It's all about releasing the energies and collecting the new ones and allowing the new ones come through. But Frida, I would like to go back a little bit, because Geeta said Not sure if I got the answer. And I really want to touch on that, because if she feels that we haven't been able to give her the answer she wants, I want to really. So she was talking about how do you get the ideas on the content side. So just quickly, Geeta, to answer your question, what Freda said, and Freda, please feel free to add, is about the fact that from daily incidences of life where you experience things, you really register that and curate that as a content, and that brings the authenticity to the content as well. To the same thing, I added that documenting it, like writing it, just helps you look back, so that you don't have to remember those incidents. You just need to take a look, and that will remind you of the feelings automatically. Freda, please go ahead and add your, I mean, if there's anything else that you want to clarify and make it more clear for Geeta, so that she gets what we are getting.
Okay, so and when you're talking about coming out with content again, right? That's why where I said, was it for radio? Was it for books? Was it for writing? Was it for or video that you want to do?
Could be on the content social media. I think for her it could be on the social media, since she's been a part of Tribe and I'm introduced to her already.
Okay, so social media meaning your Instagram, that sort of thing. I guess. Okay, so I mean, and then be authentic about it, is right. So I like your idea, Kishbu, like of something that happened, right? For example, I just I just came back from a little trip, and that whole experience about customer service, right? And they were just so amazing. This place, they got me a cake, and I never said it was my birthday. They just looked at my ID and got me a cake, and put chocolate because welcome back, So it's like, then that's like, it's very personal, but then that's a great story about customer service. And why do I keep going to that place? Because they remember me, right? So that could be a way of thinking of an idea. Now, if customer service is your thing, right? How do you get? For me, it's like I'm going back. I'm going, and then everybody's asking me now, when are you going again? Can I go with you or whatever, right? But because I shared such a great experience about that place, I've become an ambassador for them unknowingly, right? But that could be a nugget, right? So when you look at life experiences, these could be nuggets. So that's like, if you're coming from that kind of angle, from the business angle, when we talk about BFM, we cover technology, we cover mental health, we cover these things. So it's easy for the team then say, okay, what should we cover this week? We talk about trending, right? We talk about we do search what's trending.
Yes.
This week in Malaysia, it's Malaysia Day, right? And Malaysia became Malaysia because Sabah and Sarawak in East Malaysia joined us. So we say, okay, why don't we just cover stories from East Malaysia? Because if it wasn't for these two, Sabah and Sarawak, there is no Malaysia, right? So these are ideas that we come up with, and that's brainstorming. Maybe you want to brainstorm with some people as well. Now, I gave you the customer service story. That may not be your thing, right? Or you can't see a connection in what you're doing. So look at life experience and see where that connection is to whatever you're doing. I don't know. I hope that helped.
Loved it. I loved your answer, Freda. Personally, at our own company, we use similar kind of techniques, from brainstorming, talking to people. And these are thousands of methods I think we've shared with Geeta. I hope so. Yeah, she says, so things that happen in your life experience. Got it. So we were able to share that with Geeta. Thank you so much, Geeta, for that heads up. I'm so glad, because I think it's all about being able to help them. And if I can't answer their questions, then what's the point of the show at all? I'm glad that you were so generous to go back on the point and share more in the details to it. With this,
no problem.
Yes, a quick shout out. We are almost completing our 60th minute, but the excitement is still so high. Are you okay to just extend another 5 minutes, Freda?
Can.
Okay, lovely, awesome. Just very quickly, we actually have one more question, and the question says, what's that thin line between professional and personal brand?
Okay. No, I mean, okay, so that thin line, there is no, okay, don't do anything with another competitor, right? An obvious competitor, right? Like with another radio station, right? But everything I do, I feel enhances the brand that I work for, right? Also enhances me, right? Also, I don't know if this answers you. I also don't want to be defined. I'm Freda Liu, right? I don't want to be defined by whichever. I'm not defined by my work,
Correct.
alone. I'm not defined by my work alone, right? I am, it's got to go. I'm at that point where you think about your legacy, right? And it goes beyond the company I work for. I love the company I work for. I love what I do, but it's also beyond that as well, right? So the starting with the why, impacting lives, right? If there are more ways that I have been gifted to empower lives, then I will do it, right? And I know communication is my thing, right? So whether it comes in books or radio or whatever, that is my thing. So just don't do anything that's so direct to your competitor. Anything that will, someone that's paying your salary, don't do anything that will detriment that, right? That's that to me. And that personal life is also, don't reveal a little bit of yourself to people. Reveal, and people will just connect better, right? And you will find that when you talk to people one-on-one, you can always find a connection, a point of connection with everyone you meet, right? If you want to, right? So, but that's besides the point. So, to me, that fine line is just don't do anything with your competitor. Don't do anything that will make your company look bad. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the integrity, just making sure that you're ethical enough and and you're maintaining your relationship with the company in a very righteous manner, to say. Oh, that's nice. That's beautiful, Freda. And with this, are you ready for the final rapid fire of the day? There is one more. I'm not gonna let you go without that. Are you ready? Okay, so let's do the second rapid fire of the day. This second rapid fire is going to be interesting. It's from your den. So we're actually getting into your home, Freda. Be careful. So all we got to ask is very simple question. Tell us 3 websites that you hop on the most.
Website. Google.
Oh, I don't consider that as a website. That's a search engine. Okay, cancel.
Website. Geez, okay, I have to think about it. I'll go to the BFM website because I have to look at past materials and all that. That's one thing. I go to Batik Boutique. I just went there to buy some gifts. It's a social enterprise, so that's my go-to when I want to buy gifts. He said a lot. Then I go, where else?
Maybe a news website or a fashion website, or to say research website. Anything that you Star?
No, I have to go. Huh?
Star?
What,
the Star, like for the news or something? Do you go?
Oh yeah. But usually I find that on Facebook, right? I'll
So
try
Facebook Facebook is okay. Can consider that.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome.
Right.
Then tell us the next travel destination you're gonna go.
Okay, I will be going to Seremban on Friday, and it's a weekend with the girls to celebrate my birthday, another ex-colleague's birthday. So these are friends of mine from Edelman, 20 plus years ago. So,
still in touch. Awesome.
I just came back from another one. So I mean, since I can't travel overseas, this whole week has been holiday for me.
That's so amazing. Tell us one thing you're proud of in your life.
One thing I'm proud of my life. I have been very I think I have a never say die attitude, and that is to me, and I'm a marathoner, not a sprinter, that sort of person. Right?
Awesome. Yeah. And one animal you resonate with the most?
Dogs.
Oh, loyalty. What your one view on 2020?
Reflective. It's been a very reflective year.
Yes. Advice to young girls?
Advice to young girls: freeze your eggs.
Oh, that's a nice one. A mistake in life?
A mistake in life? You see, I always don't want to remember that. It was like, not say I don't want to remember that. Everything has been, can I say I made a mistake in marrying the man I did? I don't think so. He gave me a son, right? So, and there's a lesson learned in it, right? There's a journey I have to make. So I'm being very philosophical about things, so I don't really regret anything in life.
A mentor in your life you really look up to?
Oh, I have plenty. Okay, so the one that I have yet to meet and I really admire her style is Ariana Huffington, right? I
Amazing.
see her as a mentor, untouchable mentor. Yeah.
Virtually touchable mentor, let's just say that. Okay, that's interesting. And last question. One word that you want to give to Freda Liu.
One word that I want to give to Freda Liu. Be light-hearted. Lightness. A lightness.
Oh, wow. That's nice. That was unique. That's wonderful, Frida. Thank you so much for being amazing on the Rapid Fire too as well. With this, we are almost wrapping up for today's episode. And I've got a surprise for you. Before you say the final goodbye, there is one person. Let me bring in up. So, Anil Meghani. Yes, Anil, you're on mute. Just make sure you unmute yourself.
Hey Frida, nice to see you again.
So
Yes.
Frida is back again because he's our 60 seconds guy. And why is he our 60 seconds guy? He's going to tell you that.
Of course. So that's my drill kush, right?
Yes.
So yeah, so I've been in sales for almost 2 plus decades, which is 20 plus years. And in sales, there is something called as elevator pitch. And this elevator pitch is normally for 60 seconds, which means that you get that 60 seconds to go and impress upon a client, convince him, negotiate with him, and probably bring that deal with you. Okay, and that's being in sales for such a long time. I think I kind of have that probably 60 seconds thing inside me. And that's where when on LinkedIn stories, I kind of sum up the whole, yours was 75 minutes conversation, and I will sum this up into 60 seconds for the benefit of audience.
Okay, let's do it, Anil.
The permission, my 60-second goes here. Frida, you mentioned about a very interesting thing. Don't be rigid in life. Keep experimenting with your career choices. And I think that's very important with the agility and with the environment around us changing so much. I think we should be agile and we should experiment with our careers. Second, what you mentioned was be authentic in whatever you do because you are your own brand. So you have to depict that. You mentioned a very important one called it's not the survival of the fittest, but it's the survival of the adaptist who can adapt himself or herself in this current changing times. Do what you are very natural at. Don't do what's popular. And when you are doing natural, go deeper in whatever you're doing. You mentioned about Dale Carnegie, one of my favorite authors, and influenced by his saying called to be interesting, be interested. And you talked about be interested and not be interesting. I love that a lot. You last one, which you said about is during your Q&A, always have never say die attitude. And I think I completely believe that. So that's my 60 seconds. But I will sum this up with a quote of yours saying that some things can be planned. I repeat, some things can be planned and some things just happen. Go with the flow and enjoy the process at every step of the way. I think this was some of your quotes mentioned by you. Thank you so much, Frida, for being on the show.
Well done.
No, absolutely. I think that was nice. I love the quote by Frida. Actually, that explains so much about herself and what she believes in. And it just makes me feel, honestly, Frida, I have to say, it just makes me feel that I can be myself. Sometimes when you have so many judgmental eyes around you, I have not been blessed without them. I've been blessed with them to say. It just makes me feel that, yes, I can go out, live the way I want, breathe the way I want, and be the person I want to be, and not because sometimes, when you're in this corporate space, you expect it to be all that serious, and I don't carry that with myself. So I get into that, that fix. Honestly, I also have that fix, and I'm so glad whenever I meet you, you give me a belief that what you're doing is right and what you're doing is something which is acceptable the way it is, and being authentic is the most important space you can be in. So thank you so much for always reinstating that within me. I'm sure the audiences as well could connect with it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frida, for being there with us on LinkedIn Stories. With this, I just want to know, do you have any final thoughts on how was your experience on the show, and at the same time, if anything, for the audiences as well?
And especially because we want to know this is because you've been hosting a lot of interviews. You met some affluent people like Stephen Covey, Robert Kiyosaki, and so how was your experience being on this show and being on the other side of the table? I would say.
Oh, I enjoyed myself tremendously. I'm glad. I'm very happy for the questions. I know they're very good questions. So thank you to the audience. You actually, and for clarifying if I wasn't clear. So that was good. I like the fact that it was very interactive. I didn't like the putting me on the spot, but yeah, it was fun. But it was enjoyable.
Yeah, but I tell you, one of the favorite segments that everybody has mentioned is the rapid fire. And that actually brings in so much of authenticity and things that we could never cover otherwise as questions. And that's really discovering. But so sorry to put you on the spot.
I'm only
But
kidding.
no, but it was lovely having you on the show, Freda. Thank you so much for making time for
Thank
the
you.
Link Farm Stories and the tribe. And a quick thank you to everyone who's watching us. Guys, if you want to be the part of the tribe and get notified before anybody else and also communicate with the other members of the community from across the globe, then I'm putting the link of the WhatsApp group in the comment section. Please go ahead and click on it and join the group just to make sure that you can communicate with everybody in the community group. This is just something we have done to empower one another and nothing beyond that. Thank you so much for being with us and being on the show today. Till then, take care. Have a great time. Sayonara. Bye-bye. Rise and shine, guys.
Bye.
Bye.